Welcome to the Voice of Business podcast. So we're trying something new. We're here at Bennett's with some beautiful furniture. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this, and big thanks to Janice at Odigsky Media for producing this. And Heather Watson, our guest today from Acorn 30.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about digital marketing.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of things. You've been in this business for well over
years.
a decade. You worked with the Chamber for the last number of years doing our Digital Main Street program, working with local businesses. What is the situation right now for local business? Where are they at? And how are things going as far as getting them online and selling things or providing services, whatever they're doing online?
Yeah, we've come a long way, Joel, in terms of getting digital readiness for our local businesses. We, before the pandemic, the big thing was, we don't need the internet, we don't need to sell online. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and everybody was like, holy snap, we need to sell online somehow, help us. So we've raised the bar there. And I think our local businesses have done a really fantastic job at digging in. It was kind of forced, but then they've maintained a lot of those practices. So I feel like we're in a really good space. Of course, the technology is ever changing and there's a lot of work to continue to do. And unfortunately, the program no longer exists. We're not here to support that anymore, but certainly there are a lot of tools and resources available still.
Okay. Yeah, and I know just watching businesses in the community, like the start of the pandemic, those first couple of months, I watched a 200% increase of businesses that were selling online. Like, you can check out, buy everything right from the comfort of your couch, and just how quickly, and of course it grew further from there. Looking at some of the recent stats there, Forbes says 20% of retail purchases this year are going to be through online, right? So the whole market share has grown so much. And I know for a lot of our businesses, they're very caught up in the day-to-day, right? Like there's a lot that goes into running a business. You got to manage staff, you got to manage your books and make sure that you're getting your deliveries and inventory and all of that. And so for those who are really involved in all of that aspect of their day-to-day, how do you convince them or what's the conversation with them about having to sacrifice spending time in one area of their business to grow, invest essentially in the future and growth on digital?
Yeah, I think people need to realize, if they haven't already, no matter what industry you're selling in, whether it's retail, small business, or even large B2B industrial manufacturing, which is where we work, most customers, your prospective customers, are doing anywhere from 85 to 97% of their research online. And that's before they walk into a showroom like this and say, hey, I want a couch. They go through, and I often say, think about your most recent purchase. That's a few dollars more than a coffee transactional purchase, but maybe you've come in to buy a sofa or something. What's the process that you went through? And when you start putting that into context where it's like, oh, we need something. Oh, we're going to start looking at, potential places where we can buy that, or potential styles and colors, and all. You go through that before you even walk in the door and say, hi, can you please talk to me about this? And usually when you're walking in that door, you already have, as a customer, you formulated what it is that you want in your mind. How much you want to spend. You perhaps know the brand name of what you're looking for, the colors, the shape, the size, and you're just coming into the location at that point in time to confirm the purchase, to confirm the customer, or to confirm the company that you want to do business with. So when you frame it like that, how do you motivate somebody to get online? That's the reason, because all of your prospects are doing that research online. And if you're not coming up in that research, you're trying to get them at a point where they're ready to make that purchase decision, but they don't necessarily trust you or trust the process, or that you have what they even need.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes just about minimizing that time, right? People are busy, and I know I'm an awful shopper. I'm the person you're describing, right? Like I'll sit there on the couch at 9 o'clock after the kids are in bed, pull out my phone, like, okay, I bought a new tent locally not too long ago, and my old one was worn out. And you're doing research. Okay, what's gonna fit the right size? What has the waterproof I'm looking for? And that's my time when I feel like I have time to look around. After work, when I'm actually doing the shopping, you're zipping out. Kids have soccer. You got to go back and forth. You're doing all this stuff. But I still like to go into the store and talk to the very knowledgeable people, right? Because that's a big part of that sell locally, is that customer service element. They know their product, and it kind of confirms what you were researching or what. So yeah, just being online, whether you're actually doing that checkout purchase. And I think sometimes businesses get a little discouraged. We invested all this in online and only 5 or 6% of our retail sales are coming through. Was it worth it? But I think it doesn't always capture how many people are doing that window shopping before they come in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, people understand more. They want to be informed. They value their own time. And, you're not respecting their time by not putting the information out there, right? So that people can find it. And, if somebody comes into your showroom or your facility and they're looking to purchase, even a large piece of capital equipment, and you're starting at the beginning of the sales process, you're not respecting the fact that they've already done all that research online. And no, somebody's not going to, we look at it from an industrial standpoint, somebody's not going to spend $250,000 or $1 million on a piece of capital equipment online and just go check out now and put it on their credit card. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
But it's still important to make sure that you've got the information there so you can have a starting point for that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And, businesses are all at a different place when it comes to digital adoption, right? So for those who are just catching up, right? Like social media has been around for a while, and a lot of these other digital elements to it. What is there still a lot of value in catching up to where the current trends are, or do you just jump right ahead and get into AI and kind of skip a few steps in the process? Yeah.
So that no one answer is going to reach everybody. But the reality is, stick with what you're curious about, because I always say the most expensive piece of technology, even if it's a free Facebook account, for example, the most expensive piece of technology is the one that you're not using, and you've got that mental weight, like, oh, I really should be posting here, I really should be doing this, and if it's not something that you're curious about, it's not something that you enjoy, it's just going to sit on the shelf, and it's also going to create that mental weight of something you should be doing but you really don't like doing. So in terms of where to start, get an understanding of where your customers are. Again, if you're in the B2B space, it's probably LinkedIn. If you're in a consumer space, then go to where your audience is hanging out. There's a lot of options there, and get curious about it and enjoy doing it, because you'll be more likely to invest in that. And there are some fantastic AI tools that can help, but there's also a lot of training tools and information available online that you can investigate and explore to understand how to get better at TikTok or Instagram or wherever you think your audience may be.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw out a few stats here. So when we talk about cybercrime, MasterCard reports increase in cybercrime, 60% increase in cybercrime since the pandemic. Insurance Bureau of Canada says 1 in 5 small businesses have been affected by a cyber attack, and of those, 40% report spending at least $100,000 remedying that cyber attack. And and it's not just our sales process. It's not just that you have a store online. You've got your appointment booking system. You've got your employee schedules. You've got your customer databases. Like, everything about your business now has some type of connection online. And so, where should a small business start on making sure that that's protected? Like, what do you do? You've moved your store, you've moved all this online, and that's great. But how do you protect all of that?
Yeah, I mean, as a marketing agency, we don't get into security too much, but I can tell you from the experience of us going out and supporting local businesses through the Digital Main Street program that not enough businesses are taking this seriously. That everybody's very loosey-goosey with passwords, giving employees passwords to websites, and there's natural attrition that happens, and then they forget to change those passwords because business owners are busy and things happen, right? Or even just giving people administrative access into your systems. And then those people, whether they're third-party contractors, like marketing agencies like us, for example, when those projects are over, they don't necessarily remove themselves or are not removed from those. And it's sad but true. The whole password piece, I think, is a really important piece where we're, I'll call everybody out because, how many businesses we walked into and the password is the password keeper. It's either one password for all things, or it's an address book stored locked in the top drawer of your filing cabinet. We know it, we saw it, we see it everywhere. You got to get better with that. And there's all kinds of online encrypted software that allows that. It allows for cleaner, safer password sharing if you do have to share passwords between accounts. And it's not just, like you say, it's not just customer data in your online store. It really is coming down to insurance and your ability to get business insurance and liability and cyber insurance. Like, depending on the type of business you're in, you're going to need to show that you have that to your insurer, and your rates will be impacted by not having that and being at risk. Yeah,
and I've heard about that, like not just getting cyber insurance, but the other parts. Your business has so much more risk if you're not taking cyber seriously, right?
Yeah.
So
But a good place to start, I should just mention, is try and find someone who can do an audit for you. There's a number of companies that are starting to bubble up that can come into your business and understand what your technology stack is, what technology you're using, how you're storing data, how you're managing data and passwords, and where everything is stored. And then you can start understanding what your risk is. Because right now, I think a lot of people don't even realize that there is risk.
Yeah. And I've often heard the comparison, right? Like you wouldn't open your store and not put a lock on the door.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we're much more willing to spend several $1,000s on security systems, cameras, all those types of things to protect our physical assets. And that digital side, it's just, for whatever reason, just seems like there's a bit more of a barrier to spend and invest and get professionals to come in and help and make sure that you're as safe as you can be, right?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And it's something as simple as if your website goes down due to a brute force attack and somebody is trying to get data, not only are you putting that customer data at risk, but now your website is down for whatever period of time, and we've encountered, like, some customers have come to us that they've completely lost it. They didn't have backups. They didn't, they're not able to restore it. So they're literally starting to try and build a brand new website when they really didn't need to have that if they had the proper security tools installed.
Yeah, like just picturing walking into the office and
everything is
all of
gone.
our team are locked out of their computers, right?
Right.
Like, what do you even do? Where do you even start?
Yeah.
Because so much is invested in that. So we're going to move on to our wrap-up question here. So social media, and I feel old saying that, social media has really, it came into its own about 20 years ago. And it's completely changed so much about marketing, sales, and that kind of thing. I feel like we're going through that exact same thing right now with AI. And just like social media 20 years ago isn't the same beast we recognize today, right? It's, Facebook at that point and Twitter and those things were in their infancy. Where do you see digital marketing, digital sales 5-10 years from now with the huge growth we've seen in AI?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Thanks for making me feel old, because I kind of started in this industry before social media was even a thing. So thank you for that start to the day. But really, if you think about it, we went from traditional kind of pushing information out in newspapers and flyers and all that stuff, which we're still doing, and then moving into this digital space with, internet and social media. And now we're looking at AI. And what's happening now, and I see continuing to happen, is the pace at what is happening, right? So, it just seems to be a snowball that's getting bigger and bigger and rolling faster and faster. And it's much more difficult for businesses to stay up on the latest trends, technology. The other piece is we're going to be making much more informed decisions with data in real time. So again, thinking about, way back with the traditional newspaper or magazine advertisement, for example, you'd maybe put a coupon in there or something to know who's cashing in and who's seeing that. And then we were able to, on the digital side, start putting in tracking cookies and seeing where things are going. And as we move forward, the next step is getting real-time data to find out, who is engaging with your ads, how they're engaging, what they're doing, and being able to make real-time adjustments to those campaigns to maximize the return on investment. The other side of that, however, is individuals, consumers, are going to start getting a little bit more protective with their security and privacy. And that's really important as well. Yeah. And we're seeing that with, Apple has put in security functions on their devices. The tracking doesn't happen. And, so we're going to get, as consumers, more protective, and it's going to be a little bit harder to get information. But by the same token, there's going to be faster information available for people.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Heather, thanks so much for joining us. Bennett's, Janice at Oditsky Media. Thanks so much. This was good.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me in this living room.
Yeah.